What's up, everyone? In this video, we have some scary things to go over. The U.S. housing market is actually in its biggest drop right now since the Great Recession in 2008 and 2009. We're also going to talk about some other bad/alarming things that are happening behind the scenes in the stock market right now. But we have some very important things to go over, so make sure to stick with me all the way to the end. But let's get right into it. So, as I said just a couple seconds ago, the U.S. housing market has is currently in its largest value drop since 2008. So this is not good at all. In the second half of 2022, the U.S. housing market dropped by nearly 5%, which is pretty significant. And what's kind of alarming is, I know the housing market and the stock market are, independent, but at the end of the day, they do have a pretty large effect on each other for multiple reasons. One of the main ones being the wealth effect. So basically, when people see the value of their home going up, even though that doesn't necessarily give them instant cash flow, people feel wealthier and they spend more money. And, this has a giant, I guess you could say, compound effect, a giant snowball effect, where it just causes more spending, more economic activity. But the opposite is also true. When we see home values fall, people feel like they are, losing money. In a way, they definitely are, but it causes less spending. It causes people to hold back more, and it's like a contractionary event, if you could say that, for the economy and especially the stock market overall. And what's worth noting is it's not like the past year or so has been amazing for the stock market. We're seeing a lot of companies not only have stock prices get obliterated, but some of these earnings are looking pretty rough too. A lot of companies are struggling just to grow their revenue, let alone their earnings or bottom line. So it's when we see the housing market drop to this extent, it is definitely alarming, and it will definitely have a ripple effect, not only just, in the housing market, but just the economy overall and definitely the stock market. And some of the main reasons that we're seeing the housing market pull back so much is, one, some of these valuations are just ridiculous, but also, two, we're seeing mortgage rates rise quicker than almost ever before. Basically from 2021, we had mortgage rates as low as 2.5% in some cases. And at certain points in 2022, mortgage rates were over 7%. And the thing is, these rates are not going down anytime soon. The Federal Reserve and the economy still has a nasty inflationary problem, and until the Federal Reserve takes care of that problem, these rates aren't going down. And if you look at you could say 10-year treasuries, which, normally move with mortgage rates, it's not like we're just going to see everything. It's not like we're going to see mortgage rates drop to the same level that they were just a year or 2 years ago. What's realistically going to happen is we're going to see higher rates for longer periods of time. And what's interesting is the Federal Reserve isn't necessarily too eager to cut rates right now, because the thing is like I said, inflation's still a giant problem, but the unemployment rate is still super low right now, currently at 3.4%. So this basically gives the Federal Reserve a ton of leeway to say, hey, if you guys want to keep, rising rates, go ahead. The jobs market can handle it. You know what I mean? So it's when you look at just the overall situation, you got housing slowing down, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it will definitely have a large ripple effect onto the market overall. And what's worth noting is, we're seeing different areas of the United States react in different ways. So I was reading through this article by Watcher Guru, and we could see some of these states like California and New York, and you could say, I guess, if we look at a city like Seattle, San Jose, Oakland, California, they are seeing some of the biggest drops, like San Francisco, where on the other hand, we're seeing some of the largest gains in cities in Florida and Tennessee and South Carolina and stuff like that. So it's worth noting how we're seeing different shifts in different parts of, the U.S. housing market, but either way, as a whole, we're seeing a lot more falling than we are rising, and that's not a good thing, and realistically, it's not going to slow down. And another thing to definitely keep in mind is when we look at the stock market so far this year to date, it's been a sea of green. At certain points we had Tesla up almost 80%. We had a lot of other stocks booming to the upside, but that trend is definitely slowing down. What's worth noting is, like I said, we saw a lot of stocks pop up to start the year, but now we're seeing, a little bit of a pullback right now. And the thing is, it's actually worse than you think. So, for example, if I look at the heat map for today as a prime example, we can see for the most part it's a sea of red, but we just have basically one stock just carrying the market on its back, and that's Nvidia. So if we look at SPY or just the market overall intraday today, it's been pretty bad, but realistically it should be a whole lot worse, if Nvidia didn't have this green day, not even just a green day, this giant green day. So what we're seeing in the market right now is a lot more selling than we are buying, but the reason that we're kind of only holding up at all is because every couple of days we have, one or two individual stocks that just have an exceptional day and just carry the market on its back. So, keep that in mind going forward. Overall, we're seeing a lot of selling pressure right now, but it's just a couple stocks that are just sticking around and holding the market higher. So definitely keep that in mind. And another thing to keep in mind is over the past couple of weeks, we always had events to look forward to. So let's say the market was flat, or let's say it was starting to sell off, or whatever the case may be. Over the past couple of weeks, we've had big earnings to look forward to, or key inflation data, or anything along those lines. And right now the schedule is pretty clear. So it's we're stuck in a phase where we're seeing repeated selling pressure and relatively bad news overall, and it's not there's any major event coming that's scheduled to maybe reverse that trend. So going forward, we're at a point in the market right now where it's we had a pretty strong recovery over the past couple weeks, and especially over the past couple months, and we're really lacking good news to sustain this momentum. So over the next couple weeks, definitely over the next couple weeks, I'm definitely expecting a slowdown in the market, and that doesn't necessarily mean a crash, but we would need some sort of solid news or some sort of event to truly see a pop, a powerful pop to the upside in the market right now. And that's just something that we're really lacking. So unless we have some major event come out, some really good news, it's going to be hard for the market to hold up. And like I said, it's not like the economy is all sunshine and rainbows right now. There are some serious problems, and in some ways the market has celebrated too early against winning this war against inflation. The inflation rate has not, it's calmed down, but it's still way too high. So I do think the market is a little bit I think it's celebrating too early so far, and I do think that we are scheduled to have some relatively tough times ahead in the market. Again, that does not mean a crash, but what it means is, maybe the rips to the upside get rejected more often, and maybe the downside moves are a little bit more exaggerated. Because if you think about it, like I just said a couple minutes ago, the whole market would be a lot more red right now if it wasn't for the Nvidia, which is basically the only stock holding the market higher. So definitely keep that in mind, and there's definitely some pretty scary news going on behind the scenes. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Besides that, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's have an amazing end to the week.